Live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu declares state of emergency on food security. Senate confirms nomination of service chiefs. Plus, the UK becomes first country to supply Ukraine with We'll begin the news tonight with a report that President Bola Tinubu has declared a state of emergency on food security. Tinubu also approved that all matters pertaining to food and water availability and affordability as essential. His Communications and Strategy Dele Alake disclosed this while briefing State House correspondents after consultations with key stakeholders in the agricultural sector at the presidential villa Abuja. He said that the president has directed an immediate release of fertilizers and grains to farmers and households to mitigate the effects of the subsidy removal. Appropriation Act and approved a request for obtaining a loan facility of $800 million from the World Bank to finance the National Safety Net program of the federal government. The president's request was contained in a letter read by Senate President Godswill Akpabio at plenary today. In the letter sent to the Senate, the president said the $800 million loan facility is intended to be used to support poor Nigerians and will be disbursed to poor households across the country. He said the government. Also today, the president urged the Senate to approve a request of 500 billion naira to provide palliatives to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal on Nigerians. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has said democracy must be nurtured and sustained for Nigeria and the rest of Africa to make genuine progress and development. He stated this in Abuja when he received leaders of the Senate, led by Senate President Godswill Akpabio, who was at the State House to congratulate him on his emergence as African heads of government was unexpected and unanimous, adding that it was a call to service that requires more hard work. President Tinubu pledged not to let Nigerians down in the discharge of his responsibilities in spite of the current challenges. Elsewhere, President Bola Tinubu has assured women in the country that his administration fully assured the women folk that issues of security, the healthcare system, and industrialization would be top priorities of his administration. President Tinubu spoke today at the State House when he received in audience the All Progressives Congress women leaders from the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory Abuja, led by the APC National Woman Leader Dr. Betta Edu. The president declared that his administration was already implementing many policies and programs that would positively impact the citizens, this in their respective tertiary institutions. Meanwhile, President Tinubu says about 12 million households will get 8,000 naira over a period of 6 months to ameliorate the hardships faced by Nigerians as a result of subsidy removal. In a letter to the and vulnerable Nigerian people cope with the cost of meeting basic needs, the president said this would have a multiplier effect on about 60 million individuals in order to ascertain the credibility of the process. He said digital transfers would be made directly to Nobel laureate and elder statesman Professor Wole Soyinka on his 89th birthday, describing him as a veritable source of support, inspiration, and encouragement. Tinubu's phrases for the laureate was contained in a statement today by his spokesman Dele Alake. The president, who called Professor Soyinka a brother and comrade in the struggle for the restoration and entrenchment of democracy and good governance in Nigeria, commended him for his immense contributions to the country's development. From the red chambers now, where the Senate of the upper chamber. Senate President Godswill Akpabio said during the closed-door session, the service chiefs answered questions on defense-related matters and topical issues. The president had, in a letter read on Monday on the floor of the Senate, requested that the red chamber confirm the service chiefs. The Senate, upon resumption of plenary today, started the screening of the service chiefs, with each of them mounting the podium to speak on how they will tackle insecurity in the country if confirmed. Army Staff, Rear Admiral E.A. Ogala, Chief of Naval Staff, Air Vice Marshal H.B. Abubakar, Chief of Air Staff, IGP Kayode Batokun, Acting Inspector General of Police, Major General EPA Udiandeye, Chief of Defense Intelligence. It will be recalled that on June 19, 2023, exactly 3 weeks after his inauguration, Tinubu removed all service chiefs in Nigeria and appointed new ones, whom he directed to resume with immediate effect.
Confirmed the nomination of Major General C.J. Musa as Chief of Defense Staff. Those C.J. Musa, Major General, is hereby confirmed as Chief of Defense Staff.
From the Green Chambers, the House of Representatives has approved the request of President Bola Tinubu for an amendment to the 2022 Appropriation Act. The approval followed the request of Tinubu for 500 billion naira for palliatives to Nigerians to reduce the hardship caused by subsidy removal. It will be recalled that the amendment passed after members of the House made contributions. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has resolved to constitute an ad hoc committee to investigate alleged fictitious contract awards, gross mismanagement of billions of naira, and lopsided placement of directors by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. The ad hoc committee was given 3 months to conclude the probe and report back to the House for further legislative action. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion on the need to investigate alleged fictitious contract awards across gross mismanagement moved by Kingsley Chinder, Victor Obuzo, Cyril Hart, Manu Soro, and Manuchim Owuzurike. Away from that now, the Department of State Services DSS has charged and battled suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Godwin Emefiele to court. This is sequel to an Abuja High Court order today, July 13, 2023, that Emefiele be charged to court within 1 week or released. DSS spokesman Peter Afunaya confirmed that Emefiele had handed Emefiele as the Apex Bank's chief and directed that the bank's deputy governor of operations, Folashodun Shonubi, resume office in an acting capacity. The next day, the DSS confirmed that Emefiele is in its custody. Meanwhile, a federal high court, Abuja, today dismissed a fundamental rights enforcement suit filed by Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra IPOB, against the Department of State Services DSS. Justice James Omotosho, in a judgment, held that Kanu's suit lacked merit and ought to be dismissed. Reports say Kanu, in the suit filed by his lawyer, had sued the Director General of DSS and the Attorney General of the Federation as first inhumane treatments, including denying him his right to wear any clothes of his choice, like the Igbo traditional attire called Isiagu, while in their facility or any time he appeared in court for his trial. It therefore sought an order directing the respondents to allow him put on any clothing of his choice while in the facility or when appearing in public, among other reliefs. In politics, Director General of the Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council, Akin Osuntokun, has called for the immediate dismissal and prosecution of the National Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, over the alleged role he played in the 2023 presidential elections. Oshuntokun also demanded that a forensic financial investigation be conducted. The campaign director made the demand today in an international press conference held at the party's campaign headquarters, Abuja. On security matters now, the police have arrested a 32-year-old man identified as Yusuf Isa in connection with the attack on the senior pastor and general overseer of Omega Fire Ministries Worldwide, Apostle Johnson Suleiman. Recall that gunmen had in October 2022 attacked the convoy of the cleric along the Benin-Oji Road in Edo State and killed 6 persons, including 3 policemen. Addressing journalists while parading the suspect in Abuja, the force spokesperson Muyiwa Dejobi said operatives of the Intelligence Rapid Team arrested Isa following an intensive investigation. He said 5 AK-47, 2 K2 assault rifles and 180 live ammunition were recovered from the suspect. Meanwhile, operatives of the Ilorin Zonal Command of the in Ilorin, Kwara State. The offense is contrary to and punishable under Section 1, Subsection 8B of the Miscellaneous Offences Act, Cap M17, 1983. The suspects, according to a statement signed by Head of Media and Publicity of EFCC, Wilson Uwajaran, made available to newsmen in Ilorin today, comprised a female and 12 males. Elsewhere, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) says it has recovered 454 billion naira looted public funds and secured 90. Disclosed this at an event in Ede to mark this year's African Union Anti-Corruption Day. In his presentation titled "Highlight of the Commission's Achievement in the Fight Against Corruption in Nigeria," Bakare said the recoveries were made through funds, restrained tax intervention, cash recovered from domiciliary accounts, rent received from some properties, forfeited to the government, budget tracking, and cash in other accounts, among others. In a separate development, the domestic courier Max Air, in a letter signed by the NCAA Director of Operations, Training and Licensing, Ibrahim Dambazo, on behalf of the agency's Director General Musa Nuhu, the suspension is with immediate effect. According to the letter, all domestic flights of the airline will be still to come in the news. Palm oil drops over 2.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyeken on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Interviews, real stories on how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by gross level. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, Advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian. From issues on politics,
Hello, Nigeria. I remain committed.
Security. And Uyai Anyekan
every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
Many thanks for staying tuned. As we move on now to Africa, where UN says the bodies of at least 87 people allegedly killed by the Rapid Support Forces RSF in Sudan have been found in a mass grave. The organization said Masalit people were among those buried in a shallow grave just outside El Janaina. The fierce fighting between the RSF and Sudan's armed forces have been continuing since April, but the RSF and their allied militias have denied any involvement in the recent fighting in the West Darfur. Reports say thousands have died and millions have been forced from their homes as a result of fighting between Sudan's regular army, led by Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the RSF, led by al-Burhan's former deputy Mohammed Hamdan Daglo. The UN added that at least among those buried were women and children. In a related development, the Rapid Support Forces RSF and allied militias have reportedly denied any role in recent violence in West Darfur, slamming allegations by Human Rights Watch HRW that they waged a massacre. According to H allies, who then destroyed the town of Mistere in May. But an advisor to the RSF, top brass Mustafa Ibrahim, said the clashes in the town were part of an ongoing civil war between local tribes and the Masalit tribes. Ibrahim said the RSF had no base in Mistere and accuses HRW of relying on biased sources without evidence. Fighting for talks and to ensure safe passage for the delivery of humanitarian aid. During his opening speech at the summit on the conflict, which is being held in Cairo, he said there were the top two priorities. The summit, according to reports, the rival military factions have sent delegations to the summit, but previous regional and international peace efforts have failed. Elsewhere, the number of those who died in Kenya on Wednesday in protests about the high cost of living has risen from 6 to 13, according to the country's human rights watchdog. The Kenya Human Rights Commission, KHRC, says 10 people were killed by police, including a minor, while 3 Davis Malombe. The KHRC is investigating reports that the police failed to intervene in the inter-communal clashes. Meanwhile, Interior Minister Kithure Kindiki says 312 people, including an opposition MP, were arrested during the demonstrations and will be charged. He also expressed the government's intention to arrest opposition leaders Raila Odinga and Martha Karua, who called for the demonstrations. The expulsion of refugees from Burkina Faso. UNHCR said it was concerned by reports that hundreds of Burkinabe citizens, mainly women and children, had been deported from Ghana after fleeing there to escape violence in their homeland. The agency added that it was ready to provide more support to Ghana to address the needs of refugees. In the meantime, 5 people have died and 2 others are reported missing following 2 shipwrecks that occurred in the Chare and Megaza rivers in Morumbala district of Mozambique. According to reports, the first incident involved a canoe carrying a couple and their son returning from an agricultural field, and the second was an incident indicating that the 2 wrecks were caused by strong winds. Dongo revealed that in the first case, a child died on the spot, while their mother managed to swim to the banks of the river. Away from that, the authorities in South Africa are trying to clamp down on the torching of lorries on major motorways. So far this week, 21 big trucks have been set ablaze. According to reports, the action coincides with the 2nd anniversary of violent nationwide riots, in which more than 350 people were killed. The government insists the lorry attacks are not related, even though there are similarities in the modus operandi. Meanwhile, Police Minister Becky Cele has said investigators are closing in on 12 people who have been identified as the instigators. On the foreign scene now, U.S. President Joe Biden said that Russian President Vladimir Putin has already lost the war in Ukraine as he visited NATO's newest member country. The U.S. announced it would transfer such munitions to Kiev. Despite vowing steadfast support for Kiev, Biden said that no one can join NATO while a war is going on because it would guarantee a third world war. In a related development, Britain today became the first country to begin supplying Ukraine with long-range cruise missiles, which will allow Kiev's forces hit Russian troops and supply dumps deep behind the front lines. The development comes as Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said his country's military needed more time to. Still on the foreign scene, Sweden has said that it will simplify and speed up deliveries of defense material to Ukraine. According to a statement from the Swedish government, the country's defense minister, Paul Johnson, signed a protective security agreement with Ukraine at the NATO summit in Lithuania. It noted that the agreement makes it possible for Sweden and Ukraine to exchange confidential information concerning test flights of JAS Gripen and military equipment. The statement added that the Swedish Defense Material Administration, FMV, is also entering into an agreement with Ukraine, which will enable the embattled country purchase defense material directly from the industry with shorter delivery times. Meanwhile, Ukraine authorities have said that at least 2 people have been injured in an overnight Russian drone attack on Kiev. According to the Ukrainian Air Force, 20 Iran-made drones were shot down over the city's airspace. 2 Russian-caliber cruise missiles fired from a ship in the Black Sea were shot down by the air defenses, while information about the impact of an Iskander-M ballistic missile fired from Crimea was still being collected. The authorities added that debris was reported in 5 districts, and at least 2 people were sent to hospital with shrapnel wounds. In a related development, Russia's defense ministry today denied reports that Ukrainian forces had broken through in various places along the front lines and said the military situation was under control. Moscow reacted after Russian military bloggers writing on the Telegram messaging app reported what they said were Ukrainian advances north and south had started. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had earlier said the offensive had yet to start. In the meantime, Indian troops have arrived in France to rehearse ahead of the Bastille Day military parade on Friday. The parade on the Champs-Élysées is an annual event which showcases France's armed forces and those of certain allies. Meanwhile, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is the guest of honor this year and will watch the event with President Emmanuel Macron.
This is a good morale boost for me and my troops. In our style of parade, the most important aspect is Josh. Josh in English translates to fire, enthusiasm, zeal. I feel that marching in France, this Josh will be nothing less than double.
A lot of times we have been approached by French almost in a sense of bewilderment as to how you are able to even achieve that. We are able to achieve that because it is a part of our basic training. It's not something that we've...
Praise Oman.
Thank you, Xavier Roberts. Good evening. It is business news. My name is Davina Praise Omang. In the news, we begin with the agricultural market. Crude palm oil is vegetable oil and it is used primarily in processed food. Indonesia and Malaysia constitute 85% of the world's palm oil supply, followed by Nigeria, Thailand, and Colombia. Malaysian palm oil futures fell more than 2% to around 3,840 Malaysian ringgit after approaching a near 4-month high of 4,000 in air. Reportedly is planning to set its crude palm oil reference price higher than $791 per metric ton for July 16th to 31st, making it less competitive against its main competitors. Limiting the decline was a recovery in demand from top buyer, India. Malaysian palm oil exports to India surged 70% during the first 10 days of July from a month earlier, according to reports. Nigeria retains Africa lead in crude oil production. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, has stated that Nigeria maintained its position as the largest crude oil producer in Africa in June, while production in Angola, Algeria, and Congo dropped. According to OPEC, monthly oil market report for June released on Thursday, Nigeria kept its position after producing 1.298 million barrels per day from 1.277 million barrels pumped in May. Angola followed next. The country produced 1.102 million barrels per day in June, lower than 1.148 million barrels reported the month before. Nigerian foreign exchange inflow. Financial Markets Dealers Quotations (FMDQ) exchange has revealed that the total foreign exchange inflow into the investors and exporters window increased $1.41 million in June. During the previous month, data showed that the total foreign exchange of the multiple exchange rate, which was meant to attract liquidity into the investors and exporters window. The consecutive rise means a $2.55 billion forex inflow was recorded within 2 months and about a 24% month-on-month increase. The Nigerian stock market report. Today is the 4th trading day of the week, and a total of 798.46 million shares in 10,296 deals, corresponding to a market value of 10.45 billion naira, were traded. For a second day, the all share in 62,748.94 points. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 34.2 trillion naira. 116 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 19 gainers and 57 losers. John Holt led the gainers with 10% share price appreciation, closing at 1 naira 65 kobo per share. On the losing side, Stanbic IBTC Holdings came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 10% at 61 naira 20 kobo per share. United Bank for Africa recorded the highest volume of 99 million traded shares. This is all on business news. Back to Xavier Roberts for the rest of the news.
Loses to Marketa Vondrousova in semi-finals of Wimbledon. Do stay with us. And thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, the federal government says it has enrolled 500 persons living with disabilities, PLWD, into the National Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS, to enhance their access to quality healthcare services. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development, Dr. Sani Guarzo, made this known at a symbolic presentation of the NHIS identity cards to the beneficiaries in Abuja. According to him, the move will ensure affordable healthcare coverage for PLWDs across the country. Still in health, medical experts have said that pre-implantation genetic testing technique, PGT, which ensures the implantation and delivery of healthy babies, has helped to prevent the birth of children with severe genetic defects. The experts noted that with the latest technological breakthrough, congenital disorders including albinism, Down syndrome, autism, spectrum disorder, and diseases such as sickle cell can be detected in the embryos during IVF and would not be implanted in the uterus. Meanwhile, a laboratory technician at Abuja-based Prime lamented the birth of children affected by a number of genetically lethal and other congenital diseases. Dr. Ndukwe, who said there is no doubt that PGT has helped deliver remarkable gifts to many people, said the PGT, but not absolute disease risk. Let's head over now to Isaac for latest sports stories.
Thank you, Xavier Roberts. It's the Sports Desk. I am Blyden Ukem. Good evening. Beginning with tennis. Marketa Vondrousova became the first unseeded player to reach a Wimbledon women's final in the Open era after ending Elena Svitolina her inspired run. Vondrousova had never gone past round 2 here until this year and missed 6 months in 2020 a 6-3, 6-3 win over Ukraine's Svitolina, who was also unseeded after giving birth in October. Vondrousova will play Ongs Jabeur in Saturday's final after the 6th-seeded Tunisian Jabeur defeated the 2nd-seeded Belarusian Sabalenka 6-7, 6-4, 6-3 in today's second semi-final, which follows from the first match on center court. It is guaranteed there will be a first-time champion at the All England club. In basketball, LeBron James announced on Wednesday that he will play another season for the Los Angeles Lakers. James, 38 years of age, said he will return for his 21st NBA season and sixth with the Lakers after accepting the ESPY award for best record-breaking performance for surpassing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the NBA's all-time scoring list last season. At the end of last season, following the Lakers' loss, that was in stark contrast to James' previous sentiment when he said on several occasions that he would like to play alongside his oldest son, Bronny, in the NBA. The superstar James had another stellar season in 2022-2023 season, averaging 28.9 points, 8.3 rebounds, and 6.8 assists in 55 games.
I'm so proud of these two men standing right behind me tonight. See, they're on their own basketball journey, and no matter how far they choose to go, they're not cheating this game, and that inspires me. When the season ended, I said I wasn't sure if I was going to keep playing, and I know a lot of experts told you guys what I said, but I'm here now speaking for myself. In that moment, I'm asking myself if I can still play without cheating the game. Can I give everything to the game still? Truth is, I've been asking myself how many more points I score or what I can or cannot do on the floor. The real question for me is, can I play without cheating this game? The day I can't give the game everything on the floor is the day I'll be done. Lucky for you guys, that day is not today.
Looking at football transfer markets, Everton have signed free agent Ashley Young on a one-year deal after the fullback left Aston Villa this summer. Young, 38 years of age, becomes Everton's first signing under manager Sean Dyche and has joined the club on their pre-season training camp in Switzerland. Winger turned defender, Young won the Europa League and League Cup with Manchester United and earned 39 England caps, playing in the 2018 World Cup semi-finals and a defeat by Croatia. Young has played over 700 career games for club and country, including 32 appearances for Villa last season, and will provide experience to an Everton side that narrowly escaped relegation the past 2 seasons. This is all on sports.
Many thanks, Blyden Ukem. And on entertainment news, Big Brother Nigeria reality star Fraud has announced that he and his wife are expecting their first child. He took to Twitter and Instagram to post a video clip from their baby shower, captioning it, "Very blessed." In the adorable video, he is seen fawning over. Still in entertainment, controversial street singer Habib Olawumi, also known as Portable, narrowly escaped death after being involved in a harrowing accident in his newly acquired G-Wagon. He assured his fans that he will hustle to buy another one. According to him, the incident took place at Osapa, London, Lekki on Wednesday, July 12, 2023, while he was driving to his music studio during a heavy downpour. Away from that, Nigerian comedian and musician Kader Efe has aired his frustration after failing to pick up a Headies nomination, which he claimed was bigger than any release in the year in review. According to the comedian and artist, children in the streets and villages sang along to Machala. He further claims that the snub has opened his eyes to the politics within the industry. Elsewhere, Ayo Animashon, the CEO of Smooth Promotions, organizers of the Headies Awards, has debunked Headies nominations but got declined. The Headies unveiled the nominees for the 16th edition of the award show, with Burna Boy leading with 11 nominations. Wizkid was missing from the nominees list. The absence of the Starboy boss from the In the meantime, Asake has set a new record as the debutante artist with the most Headies nominations. Asake snagged a total of 8 nominations, becoming the first artist to bag so many nominations. To be nominated in both the Next Rated and Best Male Artist of the Year simultaneously. Ashake, with 8, is also the artist with the most nominations at the 16th Headies, behind Burna Boy 11. Still on entertainment, American actress Gabrielle Union has the perfect clapback for trolls who criticized her swimsuit choices. The highly controversial 50-year-old appeared as a guest on the Who, What, Where with Hillary Kerr. She talked about a troll who shamed her for wearing skimpy thong bikinis at her age. The actress then proceeded to talk about the societal pressure mounted on women once they reach their mid-30s and how they are expected to conform. And lastly, on entertainment tonight, Canadian pop star The Weeknd has set a new touring record by a black artist. In 2020, The Weeknd released his 4th studio album, After Hours, which spawned multiple hit songs like Save Your Tears, After Hours, Heartless, and Blinding Light. The Weeknd has made history after his After Hours Till Dawn stadium tour surpassed Michael Jackson's 1987 Bad tour, which grossed has reportedly grossed over $350 million in revenue after selling out several stadiums across the world. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. Wishing you a terrific night rest. Bye-bye.